Is one of my favorite stories in the Bible. And that's been true for as long as I can remember. So this week I asked myself, why do you like this story so much? And the answer was the same that it always is. It's because of what we read in verse 35. Then people came out to see what had happened. And when they came to Jesus, they found the man from whom the demons had gone, sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed and in his right mind. And they were afraid. To me, in that one verse, there is a great deal of hope and also some challenge. So let's see what the situation was for this man. First of all, we need to recognize that he was a Gentile, that Jesus had crossed the boundaries into Gentile territory, which no self-respecting rabbi would do. Jesus has this habit of doing that which no self-respecting rabbi would do. And the man that he encounters, I would say, is not just possessed, he is occupied. Now, the reason I say that is this. A legion is a group of 6,000 soldiers in the Roman army. So when Jesus asks the man his name, and one of the demons replies and says, Legion, the implication is clear. That which has overpowered this man is huge. It has taken control. He no longer has any self-identity. He can't even speak his own name. It, whatever it might be, is in control. And so he has been driven out to be alone among the dead. He is naked, he is unpredictable, he is violent. He is hopeless. And Jesus heals him. That's the point. Jesus heals him. Now, all the details about how he is healed are interesting. After all, we have demons who recognize Jesus as the Messiah, and they're cast into this herd of pigs, and the pigs go, over the side into the ravine and are drowned. That's all pretty interesting, and we could get really sidetracked on that. But the point is that no one, let me say it again, no one is beyond the reach of the healing and redeeming touch of Jesus. Let me say that again. No one is beyond the reach of the healing and redeeming touch of Jesus. And that's important, because we all know someone who is like this man. One of the commentators notes that whenever in the Bible a person is possessed by what is called demons, three things are true. One is that the demons cause in the person self-destructive behavior. Number two, the person is controlled by the demons. Feels as though he or she cannot be in charge of their own life. And number three, the demons cause the person to be separated from family and friends. Relationships are destroyed. Now, I'll speak for myself. I have had and still have family members of whom those three things are true. Because you see, modern day demons can be many things. Modern day demons can be mental illness. Modern day demons can be addiction. Modern day demons can be some sort of an obsession. Modern day demons can be behavior or habits that are unhealthy, attitudes that are not life-producing. And all of these things keep people from being who God intended them to be. And so, like the man in the story, people who struggle with modern-day demons are cut off from society and from their own circle of family and friends. They are separated from healthy lifestyles and relationships. The man in the story was harming himself, but he could not set himself free. But Jesus could. Jesus set him free. No one. This man was naked, crazy, living among the dead, violent, unpredictable, and Jesus healed him. No one is out of the reach of God's healing and redeeming love. I'm sure many of you know that there's a modern day parallel to this. In AA and other 12-step programs, there is emphasis on God being the source of healing. The first 3 steps in AA are: we admitted that we were powerless over our addiction and our lives had become unmanageable. Number 2, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Number 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood God. Now, those 3 steps aren't something you do once and then you're done. In every 12-step program, those 3 steps are done over and over and over again. Maybe daily, maybe hourly, maybe minute by minute, with the acknowledgement that I cannot do this. Only God can help me do this. And the other 9 steps have the same concept of being repeated over and over and over again in the person's life. It reminded me of the man in the story. The man in the story wanted to be a disciple of Jesus, wanted to follow Jesus wherever Jesus went. And what does Jesus say to him? No, go back to your hometown and tell them how much God has done for you. So what is the man in the story doing? He goes to his hometown and he says, look, I'm the one that was out there in the tubes. You know me. I'm the one who was violent and unpredictable. Look at me now. Look and see how much God has done for me. I mean, he's the first Gentile missionary. Just in being who he is. I read this week that in the former Soviet Union, before the change of recent years, the authorities there recognized that there was an awful problem with alcoholism. And so they invited people from the United States who were part of AA groups to come in and to set up AA groups in the Soviet Union. However, because the Soviet Union at that time was an officially atheistic country, they said, please come in, but please don't include the first 3 steps in your program. Well, of course, they declined to go, because they said those first 3 steps are the bedrock of our program. They're the reason people were healed. And so you see, whether it's through a program like AA or some other way, the message is we need God to heal us from our demons. We need God to heal us from our demons. I was reminded of a book by Philip Yancey in which he makes the point, and I never thought of it this way, that evil, another perhaps synonym for demons, that evil has no creative power on its own. That evil can only take what God created and pervert it. So he goes on to say, you know, the juice of the grape, pharmaceuticals, sex, work, anything, material possessions, are all good things that God has created. But once they get perverted, once they get turned on their heads, they can actually become a source of destruction and pain in people's lives. And so he says, we human beings don't really have the wisdom to manage the good gifts of God. We need God's help. And then he goes on to say, and he's quoting Saint Augustine. This is so true, isn't it? Listen to this. He says, when evil first passes your house, it's a stranger. But then someone invites evil in, and evil is a guest. And the next thing you know, evil has installed itself as the master of the residence. So we turn our own lives and people we love over to God. Because no one is out of the reach of the healing and redemptive power of Jesus. Now I could stop there, but I won't. Because there's one more thing in that one verse that I hope caused you to scratch your heads. Let's read it again. Then people came out to see what had happened. And when they came to Jesus, they found the man from whom the demons had gone, sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed and in his right mind. And what's the last 4 words? And they were afraid. Afraid? I mean, he used to be naked. He used to be unpredictable. He used to be violent. He had to be consigned out there to live among the tombs. Why are they afraid? In fact, so afraid, it says in the text, that they all come together and they ask Jesus to leave. Well, the easy answer to that question is this, that they all were afraid for their livelihoods. You know, they thought if Jesus kept casting out demons into their livestock, you know, the cows and the chickens and the pigs would all be going over the cliff into the ravine. But I think that's an easy answer, and so do most scholars. I think that the real answer is this. They may not have been able to control that man, but they were used to him. He had his place, they had their place. And his place was a long way away, out there among the tombs. where they didn't have to deal with it. And now, he's a restored person. Healed in body and mind and emotions and potentially in relationships. So they're going to have to learn to interact with him. He's going to be a part of their community. And it's just quite possible that that makes them uncomfortable. Because you see, some people, not all people, but some people would rather deal with the demon they know than with the freedom, the change that they don't know. And here's the other thing. Don't you suppose that some of them were thinking, wow, if Jesus can cause the worst person among us to be in his right mind, what might be required of me? What might Jesus do to me? Because you see, it's pretty easy to say, I have a problem that can't be fixed, when compared to, I have a problem that now I'm going to work with, that by the power of God will be transformed. As I think about this as it relates to my own family, I think about the people who I wish would be healed by Jesus. But then I have to say to myself, what about me? If that happened, would I be ready to interact with that person in a new way? Would I be able to set aside my old assumptions and fears? Am I ready to look at my own demons? You see, this story is filled with reason to celebrate, but also with challenge. And yet, above all, it is overflowing with hope. Because no one, even the person about whom I've said it's hopeless, no one is beyond the reach of God's healing and redemptive love.